So let us start our session with the three types of the impedances. So when I say impedance, I need to consider here three types of the impedance. The first impedance which I'll talk is nothing but the characteristic impedance. The second impedance which I'm going to talk here is nothing but the free space impedance. So I'm considering here whatever my media, that is nothing but the ideal media. Sometimes it is also called as an intrinsic impedance. And the third type of impedance today I'm going to talk is nothing but the wave impedance. And in this wave impedance, we're going to talk in more detail about the impedances associated with a TE and a TM wave, as we have already talked about these two types of the analysis in the previous sessions. Okay, so I'm not going to elaborate each and every impedance in a, I think, in a depth, but I'll try to make you understand what actually you mean by this particular impedance. So I'll start my station with the characteristic impedance. So when I say characteristic impedance, this is always denoted by a letter Z0. So whenever you see this kind of the notation, this shows that this impedance is nothing but the characteristic impedance. Now, whenever I'm talking about a characteristic impedance, whenever I go for the model of your transmission line, now whenever you are having a two-wire transmission line, or whenever you are having any kind of a transmission line, if I talk about a transmission line model, you're having two conductors. If I take a simple example of a coaxial cable, and if I model this particular, so what will happen? You're having a two conductors. You'll have one conductor like this. You're having two second conductor here. This is first conductor, this is second conductor, and in between you are having a dielectric material. Okay, and if I draw the model for this one, so if it's having a infinite line, I'll have a resistance, I'll have a inductance, I'll have a conductance, and then I'll have a capacitance in between these two, I can say, wire systems. So this is nothing but the equivalent model of this particular transmission line, and you're giving something here. So I'll say this is the R, this is nothing but the L, this is conductance G, and this is nothing but the C. Okay, so whenever I'm talking about the impedance, whenever I call it as impedance, I'll just this is nothing but we'll say Z is equal to R plus J omega L. Okay, and this is what we call as impedance. The admittance is nothing but the G plus J omega C. Okay, so this is nothing but the how we are going to define a transmission line model, and how this R is nothing but the resistance, this L is nothing but the inductance, G is nothing but the conductance, C is nothing but the capacitance, this is angular, you can say, velocity, and J is nothing but the imaginary component over here. Okay, so if I want to calculate the characteristic impedance of the transmission line, this is nothing but the impedance measured at the input of the transmission line. So I can say this is the impedance measured, where you are measuring this at the input of the transmission line. ठीक है, and when this transmission line, जो भी आपका transmission line है, that is infinite. So assuming that my transmission line is infinite, so whenever you are measuring this particular input impedance, this will be called as a transmission line impedance. So अगर आपको measure करना है, Z0 is equal to, you can write here, R plus J omega L divided by G plus J omega C. ठीक है, suppose I am considering whatever my transmission line is there, that is nothing but the ideal transmission line. ठीक है, so in this ideal transmission line I'll have only two components. So if I can say that particular transmission is the ideal and a line is also ideal, then that Z0 can be written like this. This will be L by C. This is the one way how you can define the characteristic impedance of any line. So you can thought this characteristic impedance as this is the value which the load impedance must have to match the load to the line. So first thing, your Z0 must match to the ZL, or you can say ZL must match to the Z0. The second, the impedance seen from the sending end of the infinitely long line. So I can say this Z0 is an impedance seen, you can say, from sending line of infinite length. So this is again you can say. Now third one, the impedance seen looking towards the load at any point on the match line moving along the line produces no change in the impedance towards the load. So you can say that Z0 is independent on a length. Means what? You're assuming that whatever line is there is nothing but the infinite line, and everywhere whenever you are measuring this particular is nothing but the, I can say, same. So this is the impedance. So, and whenever you're talking about this kind of thing here, then if I talk about in a very simple word, okay, how I can define this particular impedance, it can be thought of a simple ratio of V in by I in. So, or you can say that this is the complex ratio of V in by I in. In such a way, you can say this is nothing but the characteristic impedance or the input impedance. ठीक है. So अगर आप characteristic impedance के बारे में बात कर रहे हो तो it is an infinite, if the infinite line is cut somewhere in between, and if you're measuring the impedance, you're taking the ratio of root L by C or V by I, then that particular impedance will be called as the characteristic impedance. Now moving towards another impedance, that is nothing but the free space impedance. So here when I talk, the impedance is a free space impedance, means I'm assuming whatever my media is there, it is the ideal media, and I need to calculate the, this is in other way it is also called as the intrinsic impedance. Okay, very important because we are using this term here. So it is intrinsic impedance. So whenever I'm talking about this particular impedance, if you see for air, you're having this kind of structure. ठीक है, आपका air के लिए आपका जो भी impedance होता है neta, which is nothing but the mu by epsilon. And if I elaborate this one, this is nothing but the mu 0, mu r, epsilon 0, epsilon r. Now this is a air and you are assuming that it is a free space. So you can say here mu r is equal to epsilon r, which is nothing but the one. So if you put the values of the here mu 0 and E0, you will get the intrinsic impedance. Now we know what that is. Mu 0 is nothing but the 4 pi into 10 raised to minus 7 divided by 1 by 36 pi into 10 raised to minus 9. ठीक है, by solving this particular, I'll get this is nothing but the 4 pi into 36 pi into 10 raised to 2. Further solving, I'll get 4 का जो भी square root है 2 आएगा, 6, then you can say 10, and that pi ka square root will be pi. So whatever you will get here is nothing but the 120 pi, and which is nothing but the 377 ohm, and which is not nothing but the neta. So I can write here intrinsic impedance is nothing but the 377 ohm. So we have defined up till now two types of the impedances. First is nothing but the, I can say, a characteristic impedance, and second one is nothing but the free space impedance. Now hereafter we are going to talk about another impedance, which is nothing but the wave impedance. So wave impedance, again we'll talk for both the waves, that is for TE wave and for TM wave also. So here this is the wave impedance, that is I can say ZZ in TM and TE waves. So we'll take one by one. First we'll talk about what do we mean by wave impedance, and then we'll talk about the TM and TE waves. Okay? So when we talk about the wave impedance is nothing but the ratio of, you can say, ZZ, it is nothing but the EX by HY, otherwise you can say this is nothing but the minus EY by HX. So you can define this is the ratio of the strength of the electric field in one direction, or you in a one transverse direction, to the strength of the magnetic field along the other transfer direction. Okay, so this is the one way how you can define this one. Otherwise you can go for ZZ is equal to Ex square plus Ey square, where the total electric field is considered, and divided by total magnetic field, that is Hx square plus Hy square. So this is another formula. Now ठीक है, so this is all about. Now we'll talk about first the wave impedance of the TM wave. So wave impedance of TM wave in a rectangular waveguide. Okay, we are going to use only one formula which we have seen previously in the first equation. So z here I'll denote it as ztm as I'm talking about the tm wave. So this will be ex by hy. We have seen how we are going to analyze the rectangular wave field component. So it will be gamma by h square dez dx minus j omega mu by h square dhz divided by dy, and hy component here will be minus gamma by h square d of, sorry, it's hz divided by dy minus j omega epsilon h square d of ez divided by dx. So these are the ex and hy component for the tm wave in the rectangular waveguide we have written. Now, when I'm talking about the TM wave is nothing but the magnetic field transfers to the direction of the propagation. Hence, as the wave is TM wave, the component or magnetic component present in the z direction will be zero. Okay, so for TM wave hz is equal to 0, so this component or this particular term will become 0 in this case. Okay, and here this term will become 0 as hz component will be 0. Now we know that gamma is a propagation constant which is nothing but the alpha plus j beta. So when you say there is a propagation, that means that this gamma must be j beta. So gamma must be j beta for propagation. So attenuation constant must not be there. So by considering all these facts, we're going to rewrite this particular equation further. So if I'm writing this equation for TM wave further, I can write ZTM is equal to minus gamma by h square dEz divided by dx divided by, now this term will exist and that's why j omega epsilon by h square dEz divided by dx. Now here you can see there are two terms which are equal, dEz dx, so this will get cancelled. Again h square is also cancelled, and gamma and that. So whatever will left is nothing but the gamma j omega epsilon. Now we know that gamma is nothing but the j beta divided by j omega epsilon. So I can again cancel out this. So I'll get only this term, beta by omega epsilon. So I can write this particular thing in such a way that I have got this equation as ZTM is equal to beta by omega epsilon. Okay? But as we have already seen that this beta is equal to omega square mu epsilon minus omega c square mu epsilon. We have already find out this term. So if you put this value here in this equation, you will get omega square mu epsilon minus omega c square mu epsilon. Okay, and divided by, I can say, omega epsilon. So here whenever you talk, now this omega will get cancelled from this equation, and this mu epsilon will get inside, so one epsilon will get cancelled. So I can again write this particular equation like this. So I'll get here mu epsilon omega square, right, I have just separated out the terms, that mu epsilon separately and this one, and just e into omega. So this term will be mu by e 1 minus omega c omega square. So again writing this one, this will become mu epsilon. And now omega c, if I say this omega c, and if I just further write here, this omega c is equal to 2 pi fc, and this omega is nothing but the 2 pi f. Okay, if I put all that values, that pi will get 2 pi will get cancelled. I'll get this equation as 1 minus fc by f square. Okay, so further solving this equation, I'll get ZTM is equal to mu epsilon, I can say another square root 1 minus, now fc is nothing but the c by lambda c divided by c by lambda. So this will become lambda 0 by lambda square. So this is nothing but, now again we have seen this mu by e for air will be 377 ohm. Okay, or again I can write here for air this mu epsilon, sorry, mu by e is nothing but the mu 0 mu r E0 ER, and we have already solved, which comes 120 pi, or you can say this is 377 ohm. So this is a free space impedance, so I can put that value over there. So ZTM is equal to neta 1 minus lambda 0 by lambda c square. So I can say the impedance of my TM wave is nothing but the multiplication of intrinsic impedance with square root of 1 minus lambda 0 by lambda c square. Now we know that this is lambda 0 and this is lambda c. So to have a propagation, lambda 0 is always less than lambda c. Okay? So lambda 0 must be less than. This is the fact for wave propagation. So here, if lambda 0 is less than lambda c, obviously this value will be less than 1. Something 1 minus something which is less than minus 1. So I can say your ZTM will be always less than neta. Okay? So as I'm saying, my lambda 0 is less than lambda c. I'm so sorry. For wave propagation, I can say this will be the less, this will be more, this will be in point. So 1 minus something will always be like less than 1, and square root of that will always result into the less than value, less value than the neta. So I can say ZTM, the impedance of TM wave is always less than the impedance of the intrinsic impedance. Now this is all about the TM wave. Now we'll talk about the impedance of TE wave. So how we are going to calculate the impedance of the TE wave? We know that TE wave, the formula will remain same over here. So I can say ZZ is equal to ZTE, which is nothing but the EX by HY component. Now these values will remain same as we have seen over there. So I can write here minus gamma by H square DEZ divided by dx minus j omega mu by h square dhz divided by dy. Again hy component gamma by h square dhz dy minus j omega epsilon h square dez and a dx. Now I'll just try to find out if I'm talking about the TE wave. My electric component will be transverse to the direction of the propagation. So I can say Ez must be 0. Okay, and to have a propagation gamma must be equal to j beta. So if I put this value over there, if I say Ez is equal to 0, this first term will become 0 because my Ez is 0. Now here my second term will also become 0 because my Ez will be 0. So if I write this equation further, I can write minus j omega mu d of hz dy divided by minus gamma by h square. Here also you'll have a h square component d of hz dy. So I can cancel out h square, hz dy and these things. So whatever I'll get is nothing but the minus minus, again it will become plus. So it is j omega mu divided by gamma. Okay, so I just put this value over here. Now again, as we have discussed previously, jj will get cancelled because I'm just putting this gamma is equal to j beta. Jj will get cancelled. Again I'll get the same kind of things, omega mu divided by beta. And as we know that beta is nothing but the phase constant, and you are putting the value of beta here. Again just जो भी simplified है वही डाल देते हैं, mu epsilon omega square minus omega c square. So if you put that value here, ZTE is equal to omega mu divided by mu epsilon, then you can say omega square minus omega c square. So this value will become neta. I can write here just putting all the values or taking all the values out of the square bracket. I'll get here just writing same whatever I have received over there. Okay, abhi okay, fine, I'll write here. So it will be neta, you can write 1 minus omega c by omega ka square, and this will be the in the square root. So I know that omega c is nothing but the 2 pi fc, and this will be the 2 pi. So I'll 2 pi will get cancelled, and whatever I'll get is nothing but the 1 minus fc by f square, or in I can say in terms of wavelength I'll write here n divided by 1 minus lambda 0 by lambda c square. Now as we know that to have a propagation, as your lambda 0 must always be less than lambda c to have a propagation. Okay, so this is very important thing. To have a wave propagation, always your lambda 0 must be less than lambda c. So if you put this value over here, I can conclude that ZTE will always be greater than neta. ZTM is always less than neta, but ZTE is always greater than neta. So this is nothing but the two important comparisons we have seen here. So if I say that uh, my wave is a TEM wave. So for TEM wave between parallel planes for an ordinary parallel wire or a coaxial transmission line, the cutoff frequency is 0 and the wave impedance of the TEM wave is the free space impedance. We have seen TM wave, then we have seen a TE wave, but for a TEM wave, your wave impedance. So if I talk about the Z of transverse electromagnetic wave, it will be neta. ठीक है? So this is all about the impedances associated with TM wave, TE wave, and a TEM wave. Now, when you can say your TE mode exists, TM mode exists, and when you can say your TEM mode exists, when you are having a return path, आपके किसी भी ट्रांसमिशन लाइन में दो कंडक्टर्स है, one is for forward path and other is for the return path, like coaxial cable, you are having two paths over there, two conductors over there. So then in that particular case you can say that your TM mode does exist. Okay, so if you talk about the a parallel wire, you talk about that coaxial cable or a parallel planes, then you can say the TEM mode does exist. But whenever you talk about the waveguides, you're having a single enclosed conductor over there. So in that case, you will not have a TEM wave or TEM mode. You will have only TE mode or TM mode. So this is all about the impedances associated with this one. Okay. Now a very important characteristics which I want to tell you right now is nothing but the, if you are having a air as a dielectric, ठीक है, then guide wavelength will be denoted by lambda g is equal to lambda 0 divided by 1 minus lambda 0 by lambda c square. This is true when your dielectric is air. But what will happen if you're not using your dielectric as air? So I can say you're having a waveguide with other dielectric, and your dielectric constant here is nothing but the epsilon r. So if you're having this dielectric constant, you need to replace that one with r. So your lambda g will become here lambda 0 square root of epsilon r minus lambda 0 by lambda c square. ठीक है, so this is the way how you can calculate guide wavelength if your dielectric is other than air with the dielectric constant of epsilon r. Or what, how you calculate this lambda g dielectric? So this lambda g dielectric will be lambda g of air divided by epsilon r. So we'll solve one problem based on this and then you'll understand. Now since your dielectric constant is greater than 1 and you can say your lambda dielectric is less than lambda air, you can say frequencies less than cutoff values can pass through the same guide. Okay, so we can say the frequencies which are less than its cutoff can pass through this particular waveguide. So this is all about the guide wavelength.